you're doing in the lives of families in Clay County. Thank you for the opportunity we have to provide a quality education for the children that live here, to give resources and support that families need to thrive, Father. Pray, Lord, as we endeavor to do your work, that we would have ears to hear and hearts to obey, that we would look to you for the wisdom and guidance we need to make decisions that are in alignment, Lord, with your will. Be with us as we meet today. I pray, Father, that your Spirit would be present in this room, and that our hearts would be attentive to your voice. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Calling the board meeting agenda summary to order, and we are starting a little bit later today because we have another meeting at 5:01. So thank you all for being here. It appears that we're all employees of the school district, and so I'll just say generic welcome to everyone, and you know that if you have questions or comments, you are welcome to ask them. Mr. Roski.
It's good to see everybody on this bright, sunny Florida day. Out there. It's trying to dodge the raindrops has become a hazard lately. So this meeting is for the August 5th regular board meeting. So item 1 is approval of the minutes from the workshop on the 15th, as well as student hearings and our meeting on June 24th. Okay, item 2, personnel consent agenda. Of course, there's many personnel actions there, and it'll be updated within the 48-hour rule prior to the board meeting coming up. Right now, in the area of hiring, we're doing a fantastic job of hiring teachers in a very difficult environment. Many teachers are in the screening process now. At the end of all of that, there'll be approximately 34 teaching positions to hire, which is pretty good considering the environment that we're in right now. So kudos to all the principals out there and our HR folks.
How are we doing with bus drivers and custodians?
Bus drivers and custodians were close. Hired 15 bus drivers this summer, which is, I don't want to claim it to be a record, but it's higher than normal amount. Interestingly enough, I ran into family and didn't realize that my brother-in-law is a bus driver in Kentucky. He retired from his job, and now he's doing that, and I thought that was kind of interesting, long conversations. I was in North Carolina until last night, and drove by their district headquarters in a small town, and there was a big bus with a banner saying we're hiring bus drivers. So I think that bus drivers are a nationwide thing, and we're doing a very good job of that in difficult circumstances. So I think we'll be on track, or as close to on track. And of course, you know, sometimes people come in and they make a decision for their family at the last second. A person comes in, and quite often as a principal, would somebody come to my office at this point in the year and say, do you have a minute? You almost instinctively know the conversation that follows right after that, and then immediately scramble to find the best services for kids. So now on to 3.
Are we short any custodians?
We are short custodians.
How many?
Don't know the exact numbers, but that's a yearly, like if you were to ask me on any given day, there would be a different number, and there's always a number of individuals. And so on top of that, the number of custodial allocations is something that we should look at in the future. And of course, that comes with a cost involved in that. So if there's no further questions, 3 is out-of-state travel. So I believe there's any questions on that. 4 is our 4-year renewal. Every 4 years, we have an agreement with the state DJJ related to our DJJ programs, which of course in our county are AMI and PACE. Without any further comment, 5 is our dual enrollment agreement with St. John's River State College, and 6 is kind of a related item. It is our collegiate high school contract. So it'd be interesting for you to know that last year we had a record 87 AA degrees in our collegiate high school, which is at Orange Park High School, Middleburg High School. Roughly 1,200 students on a given semester are involved with dual enrollment through St. John's, not counting Santa Fe. I'll have those numbers because that's the contract
Santa Fe had 15 that graduated this past year
with an AA.
with their AA before they got their high school diploma.
Awesome, so that program is taken off, I guess is the point of that. So 6 is the collegiate high school that we spoke of, that agreement with St. John's River. 7 is iReady math and reading assessment, reading contract. This contract is approximately $430,000 less than in previous years. You're going to see a shift. The board has already approved Lexia, which is an evidence-based reading program, in an earlier meeting. And so what we're seeing with iReady is kind of, I'm going to call it fatigue. Now that we've been on there for 4 years, we're seeing less return in the area of student achievement in that particular product. The product's really good at diagnosing students and is still helpful to us, and we're transitioning. This is a transition year, so we kind of cut that contract significantly as we're moving to other products. And I think that's normal and natural when it comes to computer-based instruction, that if a student has been on a particular program for 3 or 4 years, over time it kind of loses a little bit of its luster, and then you're looking for other programs that can in fact replace those. Still important because this generation, they thrive on that and like that particular format, and so it's something that I don't think we can get away from, and at the same time we're looking to get the best bang for our buck and improve student achievement. So that's my iReady story in a nutshell. Kind of related is number 8, which is PENDA. PENDA's a program that goes through science. It goes through every standard that's assessed in the science area. It's a gaming sort of format, so we piloted it last year with great success, and we're looking to have continued success in science with the aid of a program like PENDA. It's a 3-year contract, and evidence-based, again, covering each and every standard in science that a student would cover. Okay, number 9 is CTE, out-of-state, and overnight field trips, which includes all of the groupings from all the various programs, whether it's FFA, FBLA, HOSA, etc., for the year. It's kind of one blanket for the year. Number 10 is safe crisis management training. Last year the number of restraints was reduced to 44. Sometimes you do have to physically restrain a student that is out of control, and you do that by using techniques that have been proven successful, and also keep in mind the safety of the student and the safety of the employee. We've been using this program since 1983. I'm a proud member from back, I'm going to guess 91 or so in that time range. So
All our admin is trained in this also?
I don't believe every admin is trained in it now.
They changed it a number of years ago and really worked with the aides more so than the actual teachers and admin.
Are aides and everybody included in that training, ESC aides and everybody? Okay.
I believe it's the behavioral,
It's not all aides.
it's the behavioral assistants that we focus on.
Okay.
So those would be the high incident groups that most likely would occur in. So at number 11, it's mileage paid to parents in group homes. Sometimes you have students that are high incident students, and it's best if they have transportation to school, and we pay for that transportation. Less than $10,000. Of course, last year I think the chart that's attached said $324 because of COVID and not really traveling to from school. Okay, item 12 is our contract with EBS Healthcare Staffing. You may or may not know, speech language pathologists, nationwide shortage in that particular group of individuals. Our district goes through great lengths in filling all those positions. We have about 58 total speech pathologists within our district, and when you can't hire a direct employee, we then contract out those services to find those individuals nationwide. And some people are traveling. They travel for 1 year to one place, and then they travel to another through EBS. 13 is Alonzo Sign Language Interpreting. We currently have 7 full-time, 7 students that require a full-time interpreter within their classes. So this would be an individual that interprets, does sign language, goes with students through every class. In addition to that, you can see that the cost of it is substantial. Remember, under IDEA, a student, even in extracurricular activities, even in nighttime activities, all of those kinds of things, if in fact they require those services, they get those services, and so those services come at a cost, and that's why the cost is what it is. So 14 is the TESSA grant for Charles E. Bennett Elementary. We've approved this a couple years now. In the TESSA grant, there's 6 different assurances that the district has to go through, such as family and community partnerships, academic and character standards, parental involvement, incentives for instructional personnel, as well as professional development and focused instruction. The plan outlines what we're doing in each one of those areas. It's submitted to the state once it's already been submitted to the state and approved by the school board.
How long will that go on for Bennett?
We are hoping that not too much longer.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask.
Do you think this is the last year?
We're anticipating results. They're anticipating results within the next week.
Within the next week, okay, for the facility.
So not to sidetrack, but I guess we do have a couple minutes here today, would be that the chancellor committed to the fact that state testing results would happen this week. And under the executive order, it said that it had to by the 31st, so I didn't think that was really going out on a limb telling you that. But at the same time, we don't know the exact moment, so everybody's, and the anticipation is thick, among a lot of people. The 3rd grade results in comparison to our colleagues, and this is kind of a weird year when you look at data now, you have to look at it through a lens of, one way to look at it would be, it's not that it's a competition between districts, but when you're determining how you had performed in a year that's so weird, for lack of a better term, it's hard to get a grasp on how to measure how you've done. So we've taken a look at how we've done in comparison to other districts, and in the 3rd grade data, which is the only data point we have at this point, we went from 10th in the state from the last time that we were assessed, which was 2 years ago, to 8th, this year. So we took that as a positive sign in 3rd grade data, and I'm sure that once that data is released, we'll provide information to everybody involved. So all of our data wonk people are waiting patiently for that to come through with excitement. Okay. So 15 is our contract with Clay County School Board agreement with Flagler Health. This is actually a new contract, and what this is that students in need of mental health services, sometimes there's a backlog of people that need mental health services from what providers can provide. What Care Connect is a group that not only monitors all those people in need of services, but then steps in to connect them, hence the word Clay Connect, with mental health services. Other districts, a certain district that will remain nameless east of us over the river, has saying praises about this particular program and their ability to find services for people within a specified amount of time. I believe it's 15 days, 30 total days. because sometimes services are actually stressed out that long. So these are people in need of mental health services, but not in crisis mode, for immediate care. That's different. This is through the referral process.
This sounds almost like a reactive organization as well. So if, for instance, mental health care is encouraged or required, whatever, they'll step in and start that process. And if, let's say, a parent drops the ball, will they step in and help bridge that gap for the child?
So my take on it is that they have deep connections within the mental health community, and therefore it enables them to leverage all kinds of organizations to then give students the help that they need. And they're a nonprofit organization, so there's no, when I first heard this, I said, okay, what's the catch? I'm from New York, so that's what we do. And, so what is the catch on this? And really is no catch related to the services, because they're not receiving money directly. They're providing those services as a nonprofit. So it's pretty good. It's a pretty good deal, and kudos to Laura and her team for discovering one more way that we can help our students. So that brings us to 16, which is proposed allocation changes for 21-22. You can see the OPE secretary. Every other school has an 11-month ESE secretary except for OPE. I think that was an employee preference originally until the employee has retired. And now the new employee and the principal would really like to be in line with the other schools. You can also see the custodial allocation for Tynes. I believe that Tynes should have a custodial allocation last year based on the allocation formula. And now, of course, they have another new wing that's being added, so they're actually increasing square footage from where they were. So totally justified. And then you can see the business affairs buyer position that Dr. Lugoke talked about earlier. Then you can see at the bottom is all Susie Glover stuff, and I just want to tell you, Susie Glover's a rock star within this organization. And it comes to food service, the management of money, and you can just see that the shifts that she's taking there are very strategic for food services, and the idea that she came up with a huge surplus within her grouping during that time frame is, kudos to her. So 17 is deletion of certain item reports. That's the standard surveying of items. The next ones are different, so I'll give you an explanation. On 18, 19, and 20, those are three documents that are being brought forth to the board for approval. All three of those documents are confidential in nature. So on the board agenda, only the board members would be able to see that, and not the public. They all deal with safety and security of our school system. And the first one is our active assailant plan. That is requirement under the statutes, and it details how that is done.
The very first page, they need to change the board members on the cover page.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it says, and the time frame is not correct either. Underneath
The
that.
year, the 20,
Somebody sent you
year
the
needs to be
wrong one.
changed.
Sent the
Because I
wrong.
put 21-22 SR.
Yeah.
So we'll make
Even
sure.
page
It says
2 has the
2021.
wrong effective and
Yeah, that's the
revised
last
date,
year.
Yeah, I
so.
think they probably sent the wrong one.
They sent the wrong one.
We'll
Yeah.
get it
'Cause this is all
changed, and that'll
19.
make it even more confidential. It was so confidential that we couldn't even get it right with the people that were on there.
We're just gonna confuse them even more.
So yeah, the only people who are gonna see it are of course, board members, but essentially, it's so important this last week. We went through several trainings as a district. We brought in professionals from the outside to deal with what we would call reunification in the event that there was a massive event in our district. Unfortunately, you have to plan for those things and what happens, and all the people that are involved if such an event were to occur. Our partners outside of the school system would have reunification centers in which students would be bused to a central location in which That's how they would be reunited with their parents in such an event. So, at this training, we're not only Orange Park Police Department, Green Cove Police Department, Clay County Sheriff's Office, emergency management, professionals outside the district. Basically, everybody and anybody was at this to talk about how all the agencies would coordinate if such an event were to occur and how to handle such a situation. We did have they were all interesting, but one of the more interesting folks that were there was somebody that actually had done this work before and did that with the shooting that happened in Orlando at the nightclub, and how to reunify families and some of the challenges that they had in communication and all of those kinds of things, and really did a good job. I pray that we never have to use any of these plans, and that's the idea, but we also need to be prepared in case we do. So
We used to have this in place years ago. I remember having this conversation with Ms. Paiva about the central locations, and parents knew that something happened at Orange Park Junior High, they could pick their kids up at, I'm just gonna throw something out, St. Catherine's Church, something like that.
So
But
you will,
it hasn't been in,
yeah, you will see in there the locations and all of that. We ask that the information remains confidential so that we can manage the information going out to ensure the best service under difficult circumstances with parents and all of that.
how do we share this with parents though? Do they know in advance at the beginning of the school year, they're given some kind of information if something were to happen, this would be the
if an
location?
event like this were to occur, the district has a dedicated phone line that would be used and a call center, as well as information that would go out.
Okay.
One of the challenges that people who unfortunately have experienced this kind of thing in real life have found is that sometimes people that are well-intentioned get in the way of attempting to make it an organized situation. There is no doubt if an event of this nature were to happen, there would be challenges in communicating to people. If an event were to happen, let's say at a high school, high school students, for the most part, listen and do what they're asked to do, but you can easily see some getting into vehicles and leaving, and so if you can just kind of picture that scene, the purpose of the training is to coordinate between all agencies and run through a mock, a tabletop type of exercise. Hey, this is how we're going to handle it. It's to provide a basic framework, and then if it were to happen at a place, then of course the situation would then dictate the specifics of it. So we're required under the statute to have all of these, and we're required to have them all approved by the board, but of course they're exempt under 119, so you're going to be the only people that see the documents. If there's a need for discussion, we can always do a different format, but can't discuss it in public. So that's what all three of those documents are. There's a lot of pages to all these documents, and of course reach out if there's any question. Now 21 is somewhat related. This is a standardized agreement with actual sites that we would use potentially for an event like this. And one of the things that came out of the training was to actually have leaders at the school go and visit those sites, so that in the event that something like that would occur, going to X location, let's just say, for example, it's a local church, you might not know the layout of where exactly you're going with students, and of course, they're relying on that help. So this is an agreement between the board and those locations as a general agreement.
So we're approving the agreement, but then when we actually choose the locations, does it have to come back to the board again for additional approval?
Mr. Bickner says no.
No.
We've identified 12 different sites to serve all 40-some-odd schools, and so each one will be individually contracted with, but the superintendent can sign it so that it doesn't have to come back. The whole point is to try to keep it as
And is,
under board as
are
possible.
the 12 sites in one of the other agenda items? The other
They
confidential
are,
ones?
they're in the plan, they're in the back of the
In
plan.
back.
12 sites are.
Thank you.
Okay, so then that brings us to 22. This is an agreement between the board and Clay County Sheriff's Office for real-time access to school surveillance camera footage. And what the agreement basically says is that, in an event of an emergency nature, that they would then have access to our camera system so they can see what's happening during school. Again, it's unfortunate that we live in a world in which this becomes an issue or a thing that we need to talk about, but this is another safety measure. So we just went through a good 200 pages of safety-related sort of items as we come back to school. So 23 is less exciting. It's the change order for the restrooms at Middleburg. Okay, and some additional fans that are needed there. 24 is the Phase 1 plans for the Middleburg High School cafeteria. Number 25 is the plans for elementary school R.
Now, are we gonna have the same design that we use for Discovery Oaks and Ride Out? That was what we had
Discovery Oaks,
agreed
yeah.
with. And it'll be the same size as Discovery Oaks?
Same size, right? Same square footage?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
26 is the construction management contract award for elementary school R. It goes to Parrish McCall.
I still have my hard hat from Parrish McCall. It's good to know.
It's good. 27 is the plans for Middleburg Transportation Fuel Depot, their repair and replacement. And 28 is the change order for 3 extra days for the Orange Park High HVAC repair and replacement. And I believe that that's it as far as agenda items.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Lasky at this point? Mr. Bickner?
I have nothing, thank you.
Ms. Gilhouse?
Nothing.
Ms. Clark?
Nothing.
Ms. Kirkus?
Oh, I have something.
Mhm.
Sorry. We are in the end of July, coming up on August, and I just want to ask again about Battle of the Books. Are we moving forward with Battle of the Books?
We are, so we've spoken to Susie Gannon, our district media specialist, so she's working through creating some plans for that with our local elementary schools.
So it'll be implemented this next school year?
That is the plan.
Very good.
So
All right, thank you.
I'll have her give you more information, but yes, we will.
Great.
Doesn't that usually happen in the spring?
Yeah, they
So-
read all the books.
Because they have
in
to
the
have time
first
to read all of the
semester,
sunshine, yeah,
and,
or
I wanna
whatever
say
books they choose.
I think it might have been March every year, but you can look on the calendar and see where it was, and it's nice, it's fun. Make sure you invite us.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Ms. Bullock?
Just like to thank Keystone Heights High School for hosting the meeting about the feasibility study last night. And thank Ms. Clark, Ms. Kirkus, and Ms. Bola for attending. I appreciate it very much, and Bryce for leading that meeting. I know it was a little contentious at times, but there were things that probably needed to be said. And then I just like to give a shout out to Caleb Dressel, Clay County kid, and Gator, and an American. So
Hey, you betcha.
the trifecta.
Exactly.
Ms. Bowe,
Yes,
I did have one thing,
yes.
if I may. I just wanted to let the board know that August 5th, for that meeting, I will not be in town. It's my annual trek to the beach, and when I set this up 20 years ago, the board met on the third Thursday, and so I have no choice but to go. I'm sorry, I gotta go.
You have to take us with us.
Yeah, right.
We
The
can
board
meet at
meeting's
the
going to
Congress.
be, where was that again?
That's right.
I'll do dinner if you show up.
We'll be happy to join you if you insist, not a problem. Any other questions, comments? This meeting is adjourned. Bye.